When was the last time you were sold on you? Have you ever been sold on you? There was a time I was not sold on any part of me. I was the last person I wanted to be. I wasn't sold on my physical appearance, my personality, my talents, my successes, my value or worth. I wasn't sold on putting myself first, taking up space, or being the star of my own show. I wasn't sold on my potential. I was not sold on me at all. If I could have returned me and exchanged me for someone else entirely, I definitely would have raced to the store to do so. Give me whatever other model you have, please. This one isn't working for me. She has so many defects, and really, she should be on your recall list. She is not fit for purpose. The thing I eventually realized is that I didn't need to take me back to the store. I didn't need a new model, and I didn't need fixing. What I needed was a new collection of stories that sold me on me and to become a woman who says yes to me. And I see so many women in this world who think they are defective, just like I did. They think they need fixing or a complete rehaul. Just take me back and give me something new because there is no hope for this old model right here. They are not sold on who they are, what they can do, or their inherent worthiness to exist in this world. They can't see past their limiting self perception and self image to the amazing woman that they actually are. Maybe you are one of these women and you are not sold on you in any way, shape, or form. Or maybe there's a part of you who is on the fence and you are not fully sold on you. Either way, creating a life you love and loving who you be in that life will require that you sell yourself on you lock, stock, and barrel. That you are so sold on you, you can't understand why they're not yet making copies. So today, I want to have a conversation that I hope will inspire you to think about where you may not be sold on you and how you can go about buying into the worthy, capable, and amazing woman that you are. Welcome to the Self Creation School podcast for women who are ready to ditch mediocrity, step up and get more of what they want, and finally say yes to a life that sets their soul on fire. I'm your host, Leanne Letica, self creation coach, founder of the Self Creation School, and queen of yes. If you're ready to play life by your own personal rulebook and give yourself permission to say yes to yourself and your wildest dreams, this podcast is the place for you. Thanks so much for tuning in, and a very warm welcome to today's conversation where we are going to talk about selling yourself on you. I'm excited for this one. So I am going to jump right in and kick off this conversation with looking firstly at the reason why you might not be sold on you, why you might be stuck in a rut saying no to who you are, what you can do, and the value you bring to this world. In the work I've done as a self creation coach over the years and in my own self work and life experience, the number one reason I've found for not selling yourself on you is a lack of self wealth. Now, if you've never heard me speak about self wealth before, I'm not talking about the monetary kind of wealth here. What I'm talking about is all those self things like self confidence, self belief, self trust, self compassion, and so on. If I could give you just one thing to ever work on to help you say yes to you and a life you love living out every single day, it would be to do whatever you need to do to build a healthy self wealth bank balance, to invest into yourself and make daily deposits of all these kind of self things into your self wealth bank account. When it comes to selling you on you, there are three types of self worth likely behind you saying no to you. They are self worth, self acceptance, and self love. And these are the three types of self worth that I believe underscore all other self aspects. So let's talk about self worth first. When you are not sold on you, it's highly likely you have a hard time believing you are worthy just as you are. You might think, like I did, that you are not enough. that you need to achieve more, look a certain way, or be someone else to be worthy of love, acceptance, and to be valued. There was a time I had zero self worth. In fact, I probably had run up quite the deficit because the more success I created in my life, the less self worth I actually had. Because that success was never enough to make me believe that I was now a worthy human being. And because no matter what I achieved, I never felt like I was worthy, that really made me feel like such a failure. And that simply reaffirmed to me my story that I am not enough to be worthy. The reality is, I had brought into the story that I was not good enough as I am to be loved, accepted, and valued by anyone, including me, a very long time ago, way back in my early childhood. I had brought into the story that I did not matter, that I needed to be much more perfect than I was to be worthy of mattering or worthy of anything good in life, like love and acceptance. So I went about trying to be perfect, trying to tick all the boxes that society told me would lead me to having the so called perfect life, so that maybe I would be the perfect woman in that life. And then I would finally be worthy of being loved, accepted, and valued. It took me a long time to realize that worthiness isn't dependent on anything outside of you or anyone outside of you. It's not dependent on what you do or how you look, whether or not people get your sense of humor, what house you live in, what title is on your business card, where you holiday, who you know, how much success you create. I tried hard to find my worthiness in all of these kinds of things and more, and it was nowhere to be found. Worthiness can only be found in recognizing your intrinsic value as a person, that you are worthy just as you are, because you exist, that your value is not up for negotiation based on anyone or anything. And you are the only person who can give you that recognition. That's why it's called self worth, my friend. It is something you give to yourself. And the only person who can convince you that you are not worthy is also you. People can say mean things. People can judge you. People can downplay your talents and achievements. People can withhold their love and acceptance. People can have more, do more, achieve more than you. People can do all kinds of things that make you believe you are not worthy, that you are not good enough to be loved, accepted, and valued. But all of these things mean absolutely nothing until you make them mean something. When someone passes judgment on something you do, it has no meaning whatsoever until you attach a meaning to it. When someone gets that promotion you've been working so hard for, it doesn't mean anything about you or your worthiness until you make it mean something, until you attach a story to it. The problem is, a lot of us allow our limiting stories to run on autopilot, and we don't intentionally choose the stories we attach to the things that happen in our world. That's why it's important to understand that you do have the power to choose your story. You do get to decide what you make things mean about who you are, what you can do, and your worthiness as a human being. You get to decide. No one else makes you make anything mean anything. That is something you decide. When you outsource your worthiness to other people or to things outside of you, like your success, where you live, the car you drive, and so on, and you allow your limiting stories to run on autopilot and attach themselves to these things without you giving it so much as a second glance, you give away your power to decide that you are worthy. You give away your power to sell you on you and your worthiness, independent of everyone else and everything else. Self worth is an inside job. If you want to sell yourself on you, I will suggest that this is where your work begins. Now, the thing about having no or low self worth is that you make the job of unconditionally accepting yourself really hard. And self acceptance is crucial in selling yourself on you, in accepting and embracing all of you, including your self perceived flaws. I am very familiar with what it's like to completely reject yourself. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, for years I did not accept any part of who I was, not even the good parts, because there were no good parts in my eyes. I believed I was a completely flawed and defective model who wasn't fit for purpose. And my lack of self acceptance really snowballed as the years of my life started adding up. At one point, I would visibly cringe anytime I saw myself in a mirror, and I really rejected the woman who was reflected back to me. I disowned her. That meant I neglected her. In fact, I didn't just neglect her, I beat up on her pretty harshly. I judged her, criticized her, belittled her. I was disgusted by her. I was disappointed in her, and I didn't hold back telling her any chance I got. I treated myself in ways I would never dream for a minute treating anyone else in this world, even my husband's nightmare of an ex wife. So, learning to accept yourself, all of the parts that make you whole, all of your unique quirks, your imperfections as you see them, accepting all of you is crucial if you want to sell yourself on you. One of the things that really helped me to open the door to self acceptance, and it's something I talk about often, is permission. Giving yourself permission to, at first, simply allow the possibility that you might not be as flawed as you've convinced yourself you are. Giving yourself the green light, the go ahead that you can explore self acceptance, and once again, that you are worthy of doing so. And we come back full circle to self worth and its importance in all of this. The thing about not accepting who you are, not being sold on you, is that you will very likely withhold self love. And a whole bunch of self aspects flow on from there, like self compassion, self respect, self care, self belief, and so on. When you think about being sold on something, chances are you really love it, right? If you buy something that you simply have to have without question, I guarantee you're not buying it because you hate it, because it's flawed, because it doesn't do the job. No, you have to have it because you love it, because it's perfect for you, because it's everything you need it to be. Does the next person love it the same? Maybe, maybe not. But that doesn't stop you from loving it and being completely sold on it. The thing about a lack of self love is that it often goes hand in hand with people pleasing, with being conditioned that as a woman, we should put everyone else first and ourselves last, and with feelings of guilt or perhaps of being selfish or conceited if we show ourselves love and prioritize ourselves first and foremost in our life. So there can be some work to do in those areas. You can probably imagine from everything I've shared with you from my own story that I did not have a shred of love for myself. I was definitely not a have to have. I was a love to have anything else but me. And because of this lack of love, I was unable to show myself any kind of compassion, kindness, or grace, which left the field wide open for my self abuse and self neglect to run wild, leaving self acceptance completely out of the race. Now, my self loathing came back to my worthiness, my inherent belief that I was not worthy of being loved by anyone, including me. So, once again, you can see how all of this fits together. Self worth, self acceptance, and self love are the building blocks to selling yourself on you. The other thing I will say is that it is important to consider how societal norms, your limiting stories, and your fears are depleting these aspects of your self wealth. Society sets all kinds of unrealistic standards for us, from beauty ideals to career success to those highly edited, perfect lives that get paraded across social media. It's no wonder we feel like we're never enough, right? There's so much pressure to look a certain way, act a certain way, and achieve certain things. And falling into the comparison trap has never been easier than it is today. But when we don't live up to these kinds of often unachievable standards because they are very often highly staged, we can start to believe that we are somehow flawed. And when you believe you are flawed in some way, that, my friend, is a withdrawal from your self wealth bank account. Every self perceived flaw you allow onto your list of features adds to the list of things you don't love about yourself, which then makes it hard to accept these things about yourself, which then impacts your ability to see yourself, the whole of you, as worthy, irrespective of anything or anyone else outside of you. It's a vicious cycle because the less self wealth you have, the more you are likely looking to these kinds of societal benchmarks to gauge your success and happiness in life. And the more you deplete your self wealth when you don't measure up. Or, like I found, you do, but it doesn't make you happy or feel successful like you're led to believe it should. And you feel like a failure because these other people all seem to be loving their success. So, why not you? Well, there's another flaw to add to your list. Like I said earlier, the truth is these so called standards do not define your worth, and nor will they make you feel worthy. So, breaking free from these kind of societal pressures and defining your own ideals around success and what kind of life is perfect for you is crucial in learning to value yourself, to accept who you are and the life you live, and to love who you are and the life you get to live. Challenging the norms and choosing to set your own standards for your life, getting clear on what really matters to you, and then go about doing that will help you break this cycle of keeping up with the Jones, measuring your worthiness against everyone else, and continuing to say no to you. Selling yourself on your own standards, on your own measures of success, sends a very powerful message to yourself that you are sold on you. Now, I often talk about limiting stories. I mentioned them earlier, and I do talk about them a lot because the stories you tell yourself shape your reality. If you are constantly telling yourself that you are not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough, or that you are a completely flawed model like I was, those stories will become your truth. They will become your reality because we will always prove to be true what we believe to be true about ourselves. It's quite literally our brain's job to help us do that. To sell yourself on you, that you are a worthy woman, that you accept and embrace all of you, and you love you wholly. Your story needs to match. What story or stories, because there is likely more than one, are you currently telling yourself about being sold on you? What story do you have about who you see in the mirror, about her worthiness, about being able to accept her, every part of her, imperfections and all, about your ability to love her? What are the ifs and buts? I'd be worthy if. I'd be worthy, but. I'd accept myself if. I'd accept myself, but. I'd love me if. I'd love me, but. What stories are hiding behind you not being a have to have model? Why are carbon copies of you not being sold like hotcakes, my friend? Why are you afraid of selling you on you? Which brings me to looking at your fears and how they play into all of this as well. We all have fears that keep us from saying yes to ourselves and a life we love. Fears like failing, being judged, being rejected, not being good enough, fears of being successful. And that's an interesting one. Fearing the changes and responsibilities that might come with being successful, fearing being successful only to have it all taken away. And so, what does all of this have to do with selling yourself on you? Well, the thing about fears is that they thrive in the gaps where self worth, self acceptance, and self love are lacking, and they feed your limiting stories. When you are not completely sold on you, These fears will take over your stories. They gain a lot of power over your choices, and in turn, they affect your outcomes. The thing I know about fear is that the outcomes it helps create are usually not the outcomes you desire. And quite often, your outcomes usually serve as so called proof that your limiting stories are indeed true. So, what happens is when you reaffirm to yourself your limiting stories, stories like, you are obviously not capable, you are somehow defective, and you need fixing, your self wealth bank balance takes a hit, and it makes selling yourself on you all the more harder. Again, it can be a vicious cycle. What fears come up for you when you think about being sold on you? When you think about saying yes to creating a life you love where your biggest, boldest dreams are your reality? Now work backwards. What limiting story is feeding your fears? What societal expectations are maybe playing into your fears? And then how is all of this depleting your self wealth? Buying into societal norms and expectations, your limiting stories and fears will make it very difficult to buy into you, to sell yourself on you. Let me bring all of this together and give you some tips for selling yourself on you. The first thing I will share is this: you must decide that you want to sell yourself on you, even if it feels like an impossible task, or you're so overwhelmed at the thought of this that you don't even know where to begin or how this will be possible. You must decide you want to be sold on you. As the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. I can give you all the tips in the world to help you sell yourself on you. I can tell you on repeat that you are worthy, accepted, and loved. I could coach you around this. But until you've decided that you want to sell yourself on you, nothing will change. And let's be clear: whether you choose to want to sell yourself on you or not, you are making a decision. One is an intentional choice, and one you are very likely making on default, driven by your lack of self wealth, societal norms, limiting stories, and fears. I would suggest that if you want to be a self created woman who creates the life of your dreams, that you make an intentional decision. The thing that may also help you here is permission. Remember, I talked about this earlier. Give yourself permission to want to sell yourself on you, to open the door and see what's possible, to say, yes, I want this, even if I don't yet know how it will be possible. Listen, I of all people know that when you are not sold on you, you are denying yourself permission on all kinds of levels. But permission doesn't need to be as hard as you are convinced that it is. Permission is simply the green light to move forward should you choose. The go ahead to take a look at what could be next, and then maybe what's next, and then maybe what's next, just one step at a time. The only way I know for sure that you can fail at selling yourself on you is to never take the first step towards doing so. Giving yourself permission to say yes to wanting to be sold on you is the first step towards everything that follows becoming possible. The second thing that will be key in selling yourself on you is awareness. I know I say this on repeat in almost every episode. I feel like a broken record, but I say it for good reason because you really cannot begin to change something you don't know exists. You must know what aspects of you that you are not sold on, what self wealth you are lacking, what stories are behind this, where you may not be sold on you because you are buying into those societal norms, and what fears you have that may be stealing your show. If you need to, listen back over this episode again and look at the different areas I talked about and get clear on where and why you are not sold on you. The third thing I will offer you is information requires action for change to take place. Simply knowing is not enough to sell yourself on you. You will need to shift your limiting stories to more empowering stories so you can start rebuilding your self wealth. You will need to embody the you who is sold on you. Become a woman day by day who thinks, feels, and acts like a woman who is sold on herself. Now, you can use tools like my self creation shift process to help you start shifting your limiting stories. That is available by taking my free Yes Block assessment over on my website. The link to that assessment is in the show notes. And if you haven't already taken it, I highly recommend that you do because it will tell you what your most dominant block to saying yes to you and a life you love is to help you embody a woman who is sold on herself. You could also use my personal manifesto, which sets out the standard for being a woman who says yes to you and your dreams. You can use this as is or as inspiration for creating your own set of rules for being the woman who is sold on you. The link to that free download is also in the show notes. Another free tool that you can use to help you day by day become a woman who thinks, feels, and acts like a woman who is sold on herself are my daily journal pages. These pages are designed to help you intentionally choose your story every day and stay on track to being who you want to be, to being a woman who is sold on you. All of those free resources are available to you right now over on my website, and you'll find all the links in the show notes. Lastly, I'd love to invite you to be on my weekly VIP email list because every week I send out my self creation secrets to the women on that list. It's called Created and it's for the woman who wants to say, yes, I have created a life I love. Every week, I share insight, tips, and strategies that I do not share anywhere else. And women tell me it's the one email they look forward to seeing in their inbox every single week. I give a lot of value in this email, and I give you the things that I know firsthand can help you be the woman who says yes. One of the biggest things I know can make a difference in you embracing this work and becoming a woman who is sold on you is having regular support, a regular source of inspiration and motivation to take that next step, and getting the tools and resources you need to help you take it. Created can be that kind of support for you. So if you'd like to be on my VIP list, once again, you'll find a link to join and get my weekly self creation secrets in the show notes. That's a whole bunch of free resources for you, my friend. And of course, you can tune in to this podcast every Wednesday for more conversations just like this. Hit the subscribe button to make sure next week's episode is queued and ready for listening right inside your favorite podcast app. And I'll see you there next Wednesday. Until then, be the woman who says yes. Hey, want to know what's stopping you from saying yes to you and a life you love? Head over to selfcreationschool.com/yesblock and take my free 60-second quiz to find out what's standing in your way today. And I'll send you my self-creation shift process for shifting it. That's selfcreationschool.com/yesblock. I'll see you there.